Welcome to ASI PantherCentric 1.0. My name is Rolando Moreno. I'm one of the team members in this senior capstone project for the summer of 2017. Our team members are Alfredo Santoyo, Jake Lopez, Priscilla Cordova, and myself, Rolando Moreno. Our product owner is Marion Hurley, Director of the Academic Success Initiative and advisor at the Advising Center for the School of Computing and Information Sciences. Our instructor is Dr. Masood Sajadi. The purpose of ASI is to provide services for tutoring for students in computer science and information technology. The way that the service works is student peers, called ambassadors, provide tutoring ranging from different courses such as Calculus 2 or Programming 1 to core courses within computer science and information technology such as Programming 2, Programming 3, data structures, and a few others. The point of the project was to enhance an existing web application that was providing services to be able to go ahead and do basic features such as register for the tutoring that students were receiving by allowing for availability of courses and availability of ambassadors' times to be viewed. The application itself was built on Django framework, which is a Python programming language framework, and has been running now for the past 3 to 4 semesters. The purpose of our actual capstone project was to be able to do two main objectives. Based on research that we had determined, we had found out that ASI had issues with the usability of being able to do simple tasks like registering for courses and being able to determine whether they were actually in the site. So as a consequence of that, we went ahead and made some changes to the existing site. Primarily, those changes were to better demonstrate to both the administrator and the users where they were located inside the actual application, because the referring website actually had some information that looked completely different from the application itself. The second part of the project was to be able to provide visualization of data that would help the director and or administrator to make policy decisions based on whether or not the academic success initiative was being a success for their students. Metrics such as student evaluations and ambassador evaluations were provided and aggregated in order to determine whether any student, particularly, or any tutor we name ambassador, was doing their part in using the service. Essentially, the director is now able to go ahead and check to see if any tutors are providing the excellent service students require when using service. And at the same time, it gives feedback to the director to determine whether the student using the service is taking full advantage of said service. The way that we approached being able to go ahead and doing this was using our agile development methods, where we determined based on user stories what features we were going to add, prioritizing them based on the necessities of the director of ASI. Here's an example of some use cases that were worked on when developing the new features that came in ASI. The system architecture that was used has and will continue to be Model View Controller, as Django framework uses this system architecture extensively. The only difference is that in Django, a controller is actually called a view, and the view is actually called a template. But other than that, it pretty much follows the Model View Controller system architecture. Regarding the deployment diagram, we were able to go ahead and set up the application, model, and controller logic, and the database, along with the web server itself, in one virtual instance located on campus that would provide the service of a client to server via a web browser. The complete minimal class diagram shows that there were significant classes that were taken into consideration when putting ASI together. We added a few new classes in order to add the feature stories that we were working on. Some user stories are basically view of current tutees, view detailed student information, downloading an Excel file of the report, and view detailed survey by clicking on surveys located. The stories basically show what the description was necessary and the acceptance criteria that was required for each one of these user stories. View detailed student information, download an Excel file report, and view detailed surveys by clicking on survey located in the surveys by course view. We also tested the new features that were added using Selenium to determine two things: that the correct information was being loaded, and at the same time that only certain users were able to see certain information. Because the information about students is very sensitive, we tested to make sure that only the administrator was able to view some of these particular administrative views. Other test cases included adding notes into the section where administrators were able to add student details, whether or not they were authorized to be able to access certain information or not. In conclusion, ASI PantherCentric 1.0 tackled two main issues: being able to improve the usability for both the administrator and for users. Secondly, the administrator is now able to make policy decisions based on the visualization of data being collected through ASI PantherCentric. Examples of those: can you determine whether or not you need a certain number of ambassadors that teach Calculus 2 or Programming 3? With the newly founded visualized information, the director is able to make those determinations to prepare for the following semesters and be able to provide feedback to the ambassadors and the students that utilize this service. We thank you for your time, and we hope you enjoyed our presentation.